quarters, Huskies running, a lot of turnovers. How do you feel your defense played tonight?
Obviously, you got to go back and look at the tape. No, obviously, it's a fun spring. I think the most important thing is, the guys are playing clean, they're playing fast, and the emphasis has been making plays on the ball, and they've responded the right way, and it's been a point of emphasis. And just like anything you emphasize, you usually start seeing those things in real time, and just got to keep that emphasis going to create turnovers come fall.
Two of your safeties had interceptions. Your transfer safeties had interceptions in this game. What can you say about the performance of those two this spring?
Yeah, those guys have been steadily progressing. Really everybody in the secondary. I went back and looked at that first week of spring ball, and fast forward to where we are now, and it's night and day difference. So glad we got those guys in the locker room, and they still got a long ways to go in terms of getting their bodies right and ready for the Big Ten and all that entails in the fall. But happy with where they're at, and definitely happy with where they're headed.
Jimmy, we've talked about this before, but you're usually up in the box, but you were down on the sidelines today. What did you see that was different, and are you going to lobby Coach Fish to be on the sidelines for the season?
No, I know the answer to that. He's not letting me down on the field, so I've been up in the box for him for so long. There's that comfort level there for him and for me to be up there and do anything I can to help him be the eyes in the box. But it was fun, for sure, being on the field today and feeling the energy in the stadium. I thought it was awesome. Great turnout, a lot of fans out there, the band. Felt like a game, felt like a real game atmosphere. So, which is what you're hoping for, in a spring game. You want it to feel that way for all the guys, but especially, a guy like Raiden, Vinesbright, freshman who's coming out and, to play in that kind of atmosphere tells us a lot. The moment wasn't too big, even though it's a spring game. He turned it up a notch, when the lights came on. So, made a bunch of plays out there. Keeney McMillan, I thought, did a really good job coming in for the gold team and making some throws, again, in a game-like atmosphere. So all those things are positive and stuff that we can definitely take away from the game today.
Jimmy, with DeMond, for you guys to be the kind of team that you want to be, what are the things he has to do? What are the non-negotiables for him for you guys to be able to put things together as a team?
Yeah, I think it always comes down to making great decisions. Making great decisions with the ball. Not turning the ball over is where we always start. Making great decisions in the passing game, getting the ball out of his hand, not taking sacks and things like that. And that's kind of the fine line with him. He's such an athletic guy. He's going to make plays with his feet, but also don't rely on that too much, right? Get the ball out of your hands on time, go through your reads, and then, if they do take it away, then he's such a threat with his feet. So it's kind of playing that game, that fine line with him. But as I've said before, it all comes down to reps, being in those situations and being able to learn when maybe it doesn't go his way. And obviously, if it does go his way, just keep building on that. But he's very coachable, all the things that we asked of him to do, he's going to do. He's a very accurate passer with the ball. I don't know what he ended up last year, whatever it was, close to 80% or something like that. So we know he's going to make great decisions, put the ball where it needs to be. It's just a matter of now just, this spring, he was out there with a lot of guys he hadn't played with before, and I talked about it before of it being a positive. Guys like Chris Lawson, Raiden Vinesbright, like all these young players that he was out there playing with, there wasn't that time built up with those guys, but I think those reps and what they got out of this spring, very excited about. Obviously, we're super pumped to get Denzel and Amari and those guys back healthy again, but I thought that was a really positive thing for us overall, that DeMond got that work with those young receivers and all the guys for that matter. So just keep building.
Brian, you got a lot of guys that had a chance to play this spring. You're still missing 5 or 6 guys that are potential starters, possibly. Do you kind of have to start over in the fall with the competition levels? Because that's almost half your defense if those guys play up to it and earn spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't say start over. And the competition is going to be, paramount throughout the course of the entire year. We tell the defensive guys all the time that your spot on the depth chart is not owned, it's rented, and rent is due every day. And so, but we couldn't get those guys back and get them in the swing of things. But we'll continue to build off of schematically what we're doing, and getting guys, comfortable and playing fast within the scheme.
How would you describe the way guys took to this scheme? I mean, how much did you want to put in this spring? How much did you get in? How do you feel like they took to it?
Yeah, no, they've done a great job. It's been complete buy-in. I think they're having fun with it. And really, we installed sort of as they allowed. I didn't want to overload them and have them second guessing and not playing fast. And when you start doing that, it's hard to play with good technique and fundamentals when you're overthinking. And so we would, they would play clean in practice. We add some more. Then they wouldn't play clean, so we pause, play clean, add some more. So we got a majority of the early down package in, and started introducing some of the sub packages and situational ball and third downs. So we got probably half of the third downs in, and the majority of the early downs.
Coach Walters, last year, the defensive line, especially in the interior, it seemed like it lacked some size and lacked a lot of depth, but it looks pretty stout this spring. Can you talk a little bit about those guys on the interior and what you expect out of that this year?
Yeah, first you got to hats off to Coach Fish and the recruiting department, and Coach Kafusi, and bringing guys in and developing guys. So we don't lack for size, that's for sure. And those guys have been really productive. Like I said, Coach Kafusi is probably the best D-line guy I've been around, and just the way he teaches, the progression he goes through. It's been fun as a walk-around coordinator. I sort of pick a position group to be in every day for meetings. So to see him and the way he teaches, and then it translates over into Indy, and then you get in 11-on-11 situations, and the things that he's teaching is showing up. That's a mark of a good coach, and it's a mark of coachable players as well. So got high expectations for that room and that group, and I know they're pushing each other as well.
Jimmy, if you had to play a game today, a real game, do you feel like you have a starting five offensive line that you could roll with?
I don't know. That's probably still a little early. I mean, it's starting to take shape. We feel really good about where that group is. Coach Walt saying just Coach Schwitzer doing a great job with those guys and building on the guys that were here a year ago, and they're that much better because of the weight room and the commitment they put in that, and just committing and all the reps that have added up over the 2 years now with those guys, and then bringing some guys that can help us, the Carter Willises and some of the young kids, Champ and John Mills and those guys, and Paki Fino is doing a great job for us as well, and Drew's that much better a year in the system. And so I think we feel really good about that group. The depth is developing exactly how we would like it, and it's starting to take shape. But we just got to make sure we put out the best five, but also keep developing that depth. Because you're going to need more than five at the end of the day. So really happy with where that group is right now, though.
Jimmy, Coach Fish said one of the things that you have to get better at in the offseason is the passing game. You can't practice anymore until August. How do you get better between now and then in the passing game?
I mean, those guys can go out on their own, and it just comes down to, again, being able to get that time on task with the guys that just showed up, the young kids that just got here, making sure that we can get that thing really crisp. And the passing games, it's everybody. Everybody's got to be on point with it. The protection's got to be good. The quarterback's got to do a great job of making his reads. He's got to make sure his timing is right and his drops. The routes have to do a good job of, running the route at the right depth, making sure the splits are right. And there's so many details that go into the passing game. And it's something that we obviously coach extremely hard on a daily basis. A lot of new guys this spring, and we got, these next few months to make sure that we iron it all out. But I think there's a lot of positives too. You see guys out there, like I said, making plays, Ray Vines Bryant making plays, some of those flashes that you see of guys being really good playmakers for us. So we'll continue to work at it, and I know we'll get it right.
Go good.
All right.